Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's episode number 91 of the Audible Farm Podcast, and this episode is brought to you by Couchtown Coffee. Couchtown Coffee is located in Iowa. Every order is made specifically for the customer that orders it, and that means the freshest coffee shipped directly to your door. It doesn't get much better than that. So go to www.couchtowncoffee.com. Find a coffee you like and make an order. If you make an order this week, Couchtown Coffee will give you 20% off by just entering the code word. The code word this week is surf. Surf is this week's code word. The code word will save you 20%. Why? Because Couchtown Coffee loves local music. That's why. Thanks, Couchtown. The code word this week is surf, not only because Couchtown is awesome, but also because I'm sitting down with Trevor Treiber from the Surf Zombies. He plays bass in the Surf Zombies. He's also a guitarist as well. He's been making a lot of videos online, just homemade music videos and things of that nature. So it's been pretty cool to watch him do all that stuff online. And hey, I'm just here having a conversation with him. We hit it off over a whole bunch of different topics. We talk about, what got him started and playing in the Blendours, as well as just all sorts of cool stuff. He gets to play in the Surf Zombies, which is pretty rad if you ask me. So if you haven't heard of the Surf Zombies, it's definitely worth a look. So hey, I hope you guys enjoy this episode. I had an amazing time sitting down talking with Trevor, and this is episode number 91 with Trevor Treiber.
It's the Audible Farm Podcast with your host, Peter Stockdale.
All right, today I am sitting down with none other than Trevor Treiber. Nailed it. Got it. The last name is Treiber for anybody wondering. But I actually first came to find your stuff on Facebook. I befriended you somehow or another. Maybe somebody had shared it, but there was a video you had made that you had shared, and it was something to the effect of how you're not going to play in punk rock shows anymore. And I got to tell you, I laughed and laughed and laughed and laughed at this video because it was like such a perfectly done acoustic song, and it fit kind of a lot of people's frustrations about playing at indie shows and things like that. And I thought it was ingenious. I hope nobody took offense to the video because it was absolutely hilarious, the song that you wrote for it. But where did you even get started playing guitar? Let me ask you that. We got to start somewhere.
Okay. So I'm like a 90s kid, like late 90s, early 2000s. So I was kind of like into all the pop punk stuff that came out in the late 90s, early 2000s. So like Blink-182 and Green Day and Sum 41 and stuff like that. That was the first stuff that I heard that I was like, I can like relate to this, and I feel like I could do this maybe. Like, yeah. Before that I had heard a lot of stuff like, grew up with like the Beatles and some like hair metal Van Halen stuff, and I was just like, yeah, that's another world. But when I heard the pop punk stuff, I was like, yeah, this actually seems like it's speaking to me. I was like at the perfect age, like 13, 14. And so I asked for a guitar for my birthday, and I got one for my 14th birthday, just like a starter Fender kit, with a little amp.
Yeah.
I sucked and sucked and sucked for a really, really long time. And, I took a little bit of lessons, like just like a couple months of lessons. But, at the age of like 13 or 14, or at least for me, like I was not able to like focus. I just wanted to rock. You know what I mean? Like I just wanted to like play and be loud, and like I didn't want to learn anything at that time. So it took me a really, really long time to like actually figure out like scales and theory and like what notes go with what chords and like all that stuff. I'm
just sitting here grinning because I'm thinking to myself, I remember when I first got my electric guitar, exact same story. I was just like, all I want to do is just pound an E chord with heavy distortion and maybe do a couple pick slides here and there. And God, it sounds so heavy. It's so cool. And And then you realize I need to learn something else here.
Yeah. Yeah, it took a while. I mean, it was just, you know, I just wanted to rock, and I just wanted to, you know, eat chips and you know, like chase girls, and like I didn't actually want to like learn anything for a really long time. And then kind of, I guess, when I got out of high school, you know, I played in bands like all throughout like junior high and high school and stuff like that. And then once I got out of high school, I actually was like my best friends, like three of my best friends are in a band called Lipstick Homicide.
Oh,
I don't know
yeah.
if you
Yeah,
have heard it. Yeah.
Definitely heard
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah, yeah. And so like I lived with them after high school for years, and so we kind of all like learned how to play, and like, you know, we just improved together and taught each other things, and partied and got crazy and learned and partied and, you know,
Yeah.
all that stuff. And but I mean, you know, and they, you know, they were like huge, you know, because like for me, like at that time, they were like on like another level of like, you know, they played with like Green Day, and they were like playing with all these like really, really big punk bands. And it was just kind of like, I think at the time, since I was kind of in the band for a little bit, like for like maybe a year or less than a year. And I went on like one tour with them to play a festival down in California. But mostly I was just watching them succeed, and then just kind of being like, well, I like don't have anybody to like collaborate with or play with. So I just kind of have to start my own thing. Yeah. And that's when I decided to start the Blendours, just by myself. It was just like me, like I had got a digital recorder, just like a 6-track digital recorder that my mom bought me. Yeah, my mom bought me my dang recorder.
My
when
mom
I was like
my mom bought my first guitar too, so there's no judgment here on that end.
Dude, moms,
You gotta
the best.
You gotta love them. I think about that so much, about how my mom was just like, oh, you want to play guitar? Here's a guitar, and you learn. And I did, you know, and it's crazy that a mom would be willing to do that, because if someone was like, hey, buy me a guitar, I want to learn, I'd be like, no way, go buy your own guitar, you know?
Absolutely.
But yeah, you got that 6-track recorder.
Yeah, I got the 6-track recorder, and then that's when I like started to like really break down like how songs were made, like, you know, all the layers that it takes to make like a fully fleshed out song. And at the time, I was really into a band called Teenage Bottle Rocket. I'm not sure if you ever heard of them. They're just kind of like a very straight ahead Ramones type of punk band. Mm-hmm. And so it was just like, you know, basically like 3 or 4 chords, really, really fast, and harmonies, and just like pretty simple and straight ahead. And that was like the perfect like jumping off point for me to like really like figure out how songs worked, you know. Mm-hmm. And so basically I would record on one track. I would like record myself playing and singing at the same time, and then I would overdub another guitar track of me playing like like just down like I invented a thing called like, well, I didn't invent it, but at the time I didn't know anybody else that did it. Like I knew the Ramones did all downstrokes. Yeah. But I did a thing that was like, I couldn't do all downstrokes because it was like too tiring to do. Mm-hmm. So I do like 1, 2, 3, and then on the 4th one I come up. So it kind it has a like kind of effect to it. Like it kind of mimics the like the drum, like, you know, how the drums are
yeah,
like on the
bass. You end up
snare.
drawing a little bit of the percussiveness out of the guitar, as opposed to just using it for the notes, you know.
Right. And
that's
so
beautiful.
Yeah, and that's basically like what the whole sound was just like built off the percussiveness of my strumming, of just 3. I called it 3/4 down strums or whatever, and that was pretty much just like how the sound. You know, I didn't need a full band because I had the percussion in the guitars, or the rhythm in the guitars, and so then I would just overdub another vocal of like me singing the exact same thing. So it was double tracked vocals, and then I would double track a harmony on top of that. And that was basically just where it all started, was just like figured out how to do harmonies and how parallel harmonies worked and how the major scale worked. And then that's basically with that 6-track recorder is how I was able to kind of like break it all down and figure out what sounded good and what sounded like crap.
Yeah. That's crazy. Like how old were you when you were doing all this kind of stuff? Are you like just fresh out of high school a little bit there and
probably like 21, 22. I think 21, 22 is when I first started recording stuff as the Blendours, you know.
How would you pronounce it? Did I pronounce it incorrectly?
It's Blendours. It's Blendours, but I hear people say Blendours so much that I almost say Blendours now because I hear Blendours so much. But it's Blendours.
That's kind of
I don't know.
It's kind of like a little inside joke for you on that.
Yeah, it's like how Treiber or Treiber or so sometimes like when like Surf Zombies will play a show or something and like we'll have to like introduce ourselves go around and introduce ourselves. I'll say I'll say Trevor Treiber or I'm gonna start saying Treiber because that's brilliant.
Yeah,
I will say it correctly.
That's fun. That's like one of the things I think I realized about you and I, let's like preface all this, like we've never met each other. And I think that just seeing you online and some of your songs and things, like I can see that you're a fun-loving person. So like having fun while playing music, it translates well into, I guess, your personality of just kind of being, I don't want to say a goofball, but just kind of a fun guy. It really translates well. It comes back to that song that I saw the video of you playing, and it just makes me smile. And it's just one of those things. I think some of it probably comes from that pop punk genre of music that kind of everything was just everything was good, everything. Yeah, I'm here with my buddies and everything's cool, and it was just something kind of like that. And I feel like it translates, well in your personality. So. Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I've just kind of, I went to the same school as like, all the pop punk bands and stuff, like the Sum 41s and Green Days and the Ramones, and just like you just don't take yourself too seriously, have fun, and even the Beatles, like really, like they were just having fun, and I've just got off a huge Beatles kick, or like I'm still on a huge Beatles kick. I watched the entire Beatles anthology, and watched a lot of behind the scenes stuff, and it just even though they were so good, they were just having fun the whole time.
Yeah,
it seemed like, and I love that. I don't like I have respect for people who are very serious and very like theatrical or whatever when they do their music, but I personally the thing that I bring to the table was just having fun and just goofing around, and but I try to write stuff that makes people crap their pants too at the same time. So it's like it's trying to balance that whole thing of just like getting better and better at like writing songs and figuring out interesting chord changes and song structures and stuff like that, while also maintaining the fun-loving attitude.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell that in some of the songs that you've played, like either in like your videos or I like see some of your stuff online, that you do stick to like the basic chord structures that most people do, but every now and then you throw something goofy in there that's like, oh, this wouldn't normally be in there if it was just a straight punk song that was just, like we said earlier, like just 4 chords. Like you throw something in there, it's like, oh, this is like a 7th or something he's throwing in here. That's, there's always one of those in there, and it's like, there you go. This guy's.
I love 7th.
Yeah,
I love 7th. 7ths are the best.
It's and it's great because it shows that you, took the time to actually like look deeper into it and just didn't quit at just power chords. Like I feel like that's the thing that is like the biggest hurdle to jump over for people when they're younger trying to learn instruments. At least that was like my biggest hurdle, was the fact that like eventually you're gonna have to steer away from just playing a power chord because it doesn't add enough depth to the music.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think a lot of that I could also attribute to being in a surf band, because like having Brooke Hoover as like kind of like the leader of the band, he's a lot of what he he teaches his students. I'm kind of one of his students. Like, I think all of us, like the three of us that are in Surf Zombies, Ian, Luke, and I kind of are his students as well, because he's just been around for so long and just picked up so many things that you can't help but have that rub off on you. And so, like, yeah, with Surf Zombies, it was crazy because, like, I had never really like dug into surf before. Like, I just knew, like, the basic surf songs like Wipeout and Pipeline and Miserlou.
Yep.
And that was basically where my knowledge of the genre ended. And it's kind of funny. Like, I was in the Blendours at the time with Ian, who was playing drums for us, and he actually just called me up one day, like out of the blue, and was like, "Hey, so we just had," he was in the Surf Zombies at the time, and he was like, "Hey, we just had our bass player for the Surf Zombies. He's not able to like make it to this next show. Would you be able to fill in?" And I was like, yes. I mean, I really want to, but two problems. One, I don't have a bass, and two, I haven't really ever played bass before. So, can you give me at least a couple weeks to like learn how and figure out how I'm gonna get a bass? And so I had 2 weeks to learn like 20 instrumental surf songs.
Jeez.
And then also I just borrowed my girlfriend at the time's bass and just learned on hers, and it is a totally different world that I had to kind of shift into. But yeah, like that was the big step towards like something else besides power chords was being in the starting to play in the Surf Zombies.
Yeah, I feel like that's one of the misconceptions a lot of people make, is the fact that, like, if you can play guitar, then you can play bass. And I'd like to modify this statement to make it a little bit more correct. If you can play the guitar well, you can play the bass okay. It's not like you're gonna be. It's not like you're gonna be awesome at the bass. And people who are dedicated bassists definitely have way more tricks up their sleeves than a guitarist who just randomly picks up a bass.
Yeah, absolutely. And when I was learning the parts because it was 20 songs from CD, from albums that had already been released. So I was like just sitting there for days and days and hours, just like trying to, like, it's kind of funny because, like, at the time my ear wasn't even like developed enough to even like pick out what the bass was doing.
Yeah.
In those songs. And so, like, I would show up to band practice and I would like be playing the guitar part on bass.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, "Well, I like what you're doing there, but you need to like play that an octave lower, and you need to be doing this, and this." And so it's just funny how, like, I really kind of went into it thinking that it was going to be a walk in the park. Like, I played guitar, I know how this works, and bass is just pretty, like you said, it's if you know how to play guitar, you know how to play bass. But it was totally not that way at all. I couldn't even pick out what the bass was doing, and I did not know a lot of the scales and walking bass things that were happening, and it was a definite crash course in everything that I was doing wrong, or all the misconceptions that I had about bass playing.
Well, I think that definitely has to say something pretty special about everybody else in the Surf Zombies. You showed up and you played stuff and it wasn't necessarily 100% correct. And they, some bands, they'd just be like, "All right, you're out, next guy." And, they actually took the time to be like, "Well, if you could correct this, this, and this, then we've got exactly what we want," and, remaining positive within a band is definitely not always an easy thing to do. And I'm sure I've only done it a couple times, in my life, but showing up to a new band that you're maybe not as familiar with everybody, it's pretty nerve-wracking, and to have them be positive about the whole situation definitely helps out, but it's not always the situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think just my silly, stupid, fun-loving attitude And like I think that's what really carried me through after that first show, after I kind of was pretty mediocre as far as my playing and my technique went. But yeah, I think Brooke and Ian, they just, they liked what I brought to the table as far as just like a positive attitude and just a fun, attitude. And I think that's what won them over. Thank goodness.
So
yeah. So yeah.
Would you think that like playing bass in the Surf Zombies definitely upped your guitar game?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, and just it kind of works both ways. Like I learned stuff on guitar that I applied to bass, and it's just I think having to learn those 20 songs for that show, it made me just listen to music closer, and try to pick apart the layers a little more and figure out what's actually going on. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. It's kind of cool to hear that like you can like learn something on the bass and you're like, ooh, this is a neat little trick on the bass. I wonder if I could take this to the guitar and try it out on the guitar and incorporate it there. It's really neat that you can do that. It's totally, I mean, it should seem obvious to everyone, but it doesn't always work like that. Some things on the bass don't always work well on the guitar, but I mean, you had the availability and the opportunity, and you went out and tried it, and that's probably one of the coolest things is never stop learning, even if you're learning something that might be adjacent to what you want to learn. You talking about how you're primarily a guitar player, and they're like, you want to play bass? And it's like, why not? And you just kind of give it a go, and then you start to take away some new things from that. It's really kind of cool because, I mean, I went through a time span in my 20s where I didn't even play the guitar anymore because I just kind of hit a wall and didn't know what to do, and I didn't have anyone else to jam with, and I didn't have a Brooke Hoover at my disposal. Shout out to Brooke though too. I mean,
yeah, he's the best. He is.
That's also like a pretty cool thing is the fact that he doesn't stop teaching guitar, even if he's like in the band with you. He's kind of like you said, he's like your pseudo guitar teacher by. He's like one of your instructors by proxy almost. Just the fact that you're next to him.
Right. And he never makes you feel stupid. Like he'll like teach me something and like he'll never like he's so like that's one of his best traits is like he never talks down to you or is like condescending to you at all. He really like speaks to you like you're an equal, and he's just he's just passing this information on that he learned to you. Yeah. And that's just like that's way harder than it seems, because like I've tried to like teach people different things, and I feel like I just always come off like yeah, like a jerk, and it's really one of Brooke's best qualities is just being able to. He's just such a nice guy, even when he's breaking your technique down and saying that you're doing everything wrong. He does it in such a nice way.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's probably got to be one of the coolest things about going through like a musical journey is the different people that you run into and how they influence you and the way that you perceive the instrument that you're playing, or even just music as a whole. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. I don't even know where the heck I would be if I hadn't joined the Surf Zombies, and like maybe I would just still be playing power chords right now and not trying anything else because I joined Surf Zombies, and then I learned way more about surf and just like get the vocals out of here because it's all instrumental, so you're just really listening to the instrument, the instruments, and then from there you're listening to a whole bunch of early 60s surf rock, and then I started to listen to like oldies, like real oldies, like Buddy Holly and Everly Brothers and Elvis and just all the early 50s rock and roll. And then I started to like realize like how that 50s stuff, that 50s rock and roll kind of that was the thing that gave birth to like punk rock and the Ramones and all the stuff that I grew up, like, all the stuff that I loved first, like all the pop punk stuff, was definitely stealing a whole bunch of stuff from the 50s. And I just figured how it all comes full circle and how it all relates.
Yeah.
All thanks to the Surf Zombies.
Yeah, well, that's like really crazy. How long of a time was it from the Blenders to the Surf Zombies? Are we talking like you were playing in the Blenders for like 2 years or 5 years, and then you joined the Surf Zombies, or?
Yeah, probably about 2 years. I think I started Blenders by myself when I was like 21, and then I actually met a gal online or on Facebook, because I would like put my record, like my songs up on Facebook, and I was doing it all by myself and all the harmonies and stuff. And then I had this girl message me, Brianna Senior, and she was like, I can harmonize if you ever needed somebody to harmonize with. And then I was like, yes, let's get like hooked up. Let's like practice or play together or something. And then it turns out then we played together for years and years, just because of like, her messaging me. And then so that we did that for a couple of years. And then we like played a show at the Yacht Club in Iowa City, I think. And then somebody, Ian Williams, was in the audience, Ian of the Surf Zombies, and he heard us for the first time, and like he was kind of like, what, like, I think he hadn't heard anything like that before, because it was just me playing acoustic guitar, like just sitting down playing acoustic guitar, and then a girl on my left standing and singing harmonies, and just us playing as fast as possible and not having any breaks between songs. Like we would just go from one song to the next song. And so we'd play like 15, 16 songs in like 22 minutes or something like that. Cause that was like, that was what I was trying to go for, was the Ramones kind of tactic of just like, get on the stage, play as fast as possible, and get off the stage. No time for talking, or, just come on, let's get it. Let's go lively, just like no fooling around. And so he was kind of like, that kind of opened his eyes, because I think before that he was kind of, he didn't really like listen to punk or pop punk like at the time. So I think that kind of like bridged some sort of gap between the stuff that he liked, and then I kind of like introduced him to pop punk. And then like he talked to us and he said he wanted to record us, and I was like, yeah, I mean, I would love to record with you, but we don't have a drummer. It's just me and my acoustic guitar, and she sings, and that's it. And he was like, yeah, I'll play drums for you. I kind of know how to play drums. I have a drum set. I have a recording studio. Let's get together and do this. And so then he ended up playing drums for us and recording us. And we've been together ever since that faithful Yacht Club show. And then so then, yeah, I guess probably about a year or something later, that's when he called me up and asked me to be in the Surf Zombies. So yeah, it was crazy, just a thing of just meeting people, and then all of a sudden now I'm in a surf band.
Yeah. I do have to say that like the Ramones tactic of getting up there and playing all the songs and then leaving is probably one of my favorite tactics I've seen bands employ. There's some bands that still do stuff like that. Not too many are too. I want to say there's a lot of bands that take a lot of hem-haw time between every single song, and there's nothing wrong with that either, because addressing the audience is definitely an important part of being on stage. I do recall once going to see, and this might be a little out of your wheelhouse, but I went to go see Megadeth play live, and they played one of their albums. There was like the 20th anniversary of one of their albums, so I went to go see it live, and let's see, 30th anniversary of one of their albums. Anyways, the long story short there was they played the entire album, and then when they were done playing, he said, "Hey everybody, how's it going?" He played like 16 songs straight with no stopping, and then was just like, how'd you like that? And everyone cheered and went nuts. And he's like, all right, here's like 7 other songs that you probably want to hear. And then he played those. And then when they were done, he said thanks. And it was, I always thought that was like one of the coolest things ever, to just go up there and do your business and do it well. And, just keep thumping on the crowd, like, oh, you like that one? You like this one? Boom, next song. Boom, next song. And you just keep doing it. And, that says something about you and your playing style. And it's also a good way to cram as much stuff into a set as you can, because instead of playing like 6 songs and soaking up a half an hour, you're playing 12, 15, 20 songs, and soaking up 20 plus minutes. And it's wild to be able to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think we did it kind of at first out of necessity, because I didn't want to. I'm kind of like, I'm partially blind, so I'm kind of like a little awkward on stage, and like, I get kind of I get freaked out when I get on stage, and I think we did it out of necessity, just because I didn't want to have to speak or say the usual stuff. And I was just like, if we just keep playing, then we don't have to talk. Then I don't have to talk to anybody. I can just play, and then just get off stage, and that'll be good. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then once I figured out that was like one of the staples that people would come to see us for, was the nonstop, no breaks between the songs. Then we went ham sandwich with it. We crammed like so many songs, and like we would get really creative with how we transitioned from one song to the next song. I'll have to send you like some file of like one of our old, because it's very, very different. It's very, very different from like the style of stuff that I play now, because I'm much more into oldies, like 50s stuff now than I was back when I first was doing the Blendours. But it's pretty wild. I cringe at it a little bit because it was 10 years ago. But hey,
Yeah.
don't we all cringe at stuff we did 10 years ago?
Oh my gosh, yeah. The easiest one to point out would be every fashion statement ever made, ever, is like as embarrassing as it ever could be 10 years later. So I totally get that. What kind of music did you start playing when you were in the Blendours, and like how did it transform over the years when you started listening to more 50s music?
I think so. It was basically just being influenced by all the pop punk stuff, like Teenage Bottle Rocket and bands like the Lillingtons, just very straight ahead Ramones core, pop punk stuff like that, and the Queers and stuff like that. I just got to name drop a few of them, so anybody listening will be like, oh yeah, okay. So yeah, it was basically that kind of stuff. So I like bubblegum pop punk. Is probably what I would call it. And then I think meeting Brooke Hoover and thing that got me to start listening to the biggest one, Buddy Holly was like that's what made me stop and be like, whoa, I think I figured out like where punk rock, where it really started, because
I got a bunch of glitch in the audio, but it was you started playing with Brooke, and then he introduced you to like Buddy Holly and things like that.
Oh yeah. I'll back up a little bit. So basically, so it started with all that bubblegum punk stuff, and then met Brooke Hoover and joined the surf, and that's when I started to listen to like 60s surf, and then I went a little bit older and started listening to like 50s music, and like the biggest one for me was Holly. I like heard his voice like and just thought like this is where punk rock really began. Yeah. And then from there it was just like I couldn't get enough of like 50s doo-wop stuff, and I consumed like more and more of it, and I think that's where I am, is just like right now, I think right between 50s doo-wop and 50s rock and roll and Chuck Berry and still, I still have some of the bubblegum stuff in me. I can't get rid of it, even though I try.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. Even though you're influenced now by a handful of different things, those past influences, I feel like they never go away. And some of that is like like I said, pretty apparent in those videos that you would post on your Facebook page. And those, and like I said, those are so much fun to watch you goof around and do your stuff, recording things. You're very ingenuitive about how you do things. Recording things and just kind of making it like a mini event almost, if you will. It's like I don't want to like give it all away, but like you will be playing with like stuffed animals next to you, or you've got like a VHS player playing something on a pretty retro TV that's like kind of in the background or foreground while you're doing your thing, and it's wildly entertaining. And I don't know. I think that was one of the things that drew me to you the most, was the fact that you just kind of do your own thing, and I dig your style, and a lot of it has to do, I think, with what you would call that bubblegum punk from the 2000s and such. It's I don't know whether or not it's like the major chords that they usually used in that, as opposed to sticking with some of the other, like metal is usually in minor, and a lot of that pop punk stuff was in major. I don't know if it has anything to do with that, but I don't know. It's always been one of my favorites, probably just because I grew up with it. But hearing some of it come out little by little in some of your songs has always just kind of made me smile. I don't know. That was like one of the things that first attracted me to you as like a guitar player. The fact that I feel like a lot of our influences were somewhat the same, but then I started listening to you and the Surf Zombies, and I was like, oh, this guy's got layers like an onion. He's not just this bubblegum stuff that I enjoy. He's got so much more going on. And what I gotta ask you, what causes you, or what drives you, I guess would be the better way to say it, to create this kind of content? Because like as of the last year or so, you've been putting out quite a few videos, and now I'm like starting to scroll back and I see that's something you've been doing for quite a while.
Yeah, I think I've started to realize that's probably the thing that I'm best suited for, is maybe creating like doing the live streams like you're talking about, with the like playing like some VHS and like on a tube TV, and just trying to create like a live event. Because as I get older, I realize that I don't think I can be I can't be like a front man of a band, and I just don't have like the charisma that like a Brooke Hoover has, because of my disability. I was born with glaucoma, and so I spent like a lot of my life inside and kind of like sheltered a little bit, and as I get older, my vision is it's not going to get any better. I don't think I ever go completely blind, but it's not going to get any better. And so I think I've realized like the past like 4 or 5 years that like creating content like on for like YouTube or for and doing live streams might be the thing that for me, because then I get to stay at home and I don't have to kind of like uncomfortable at shows, but with when I'm with the Surf Zombies, it's easy because like they understand like what I'm capable of, and they help me out the best that they can. And so yeah, okay, I'm getting like totally sidetracked because asking that question makes me think about a lot of other stuff. But yeah, I guess the thing that really drives me is I've always loved like editing videos. Like when I was since I was really, really young, I've always loved to like edit like little stupid videos, and we used to like film ourselves like jumping off the roof or jumping onto a trampoline into the pool, and like because of Jackass. Like Jackass was like the big thing that like made me be like, I can get a camcorder and we can do this ourselves. And so we started doing that, and then I would take it to high school, and then I would like sync it up to music, like the different stunts up to music. And then so now that I'm older, I'm just like applying those like that editing knowledge that I gained, like what little I actually gained to my own songs. And I love like the combination of, I just love music videos. I love making music videos. I think that is just like such a cool art form. And I actually just bought like a super VHS camcorder so that I could, like you saw the Don't Mean Maybe video.
Yes.
And it was all filmed like on a super VHS camcorder because like I bought it for that specific purpose. Like I really wanted to make music videos with that thing. And like some people use like the filter on their phone, like an app that makes it look like that. But dude, it's not the same. It is not the same.
No.
I can see the difference.
Yeah, it looks so generic when it's coming from, I mean, like the obvious one would be Snapchat. They used to have an easy filter that was always there that made it look like a VHS. So every now and then you get some lines running through it or something like that, or a little bit of like a panel skip on the VHS, or something like that would go on. But it's you could tell that it's all pre-programmed and it's patterned out to do it when it's supposed to. And when you do it with an actual VHS, as you can see in the video, if anybody wants to see the video, you can scroll down and I'm sure you can find it in the description section. I'll post links to your stuff, but as including your YouTube channel, which is a place people can find this video, correct?
Yep.
Awesome.
The Trevor Blender YouTube.
Awesome.
Shout outs.
Yes, I'll definitely drop all the links to that. But check out his YouTube channel and watch that VHS music video that you made. What was the editing process like on that? Did you digitize it all first and then edit it down, or did you film it little clip by little clip and then merge it all together as you were recording?
I mean, I had the song, and then I think I was just like, I knew what all the lyrics were, and so I was like, okay, I'm gonna say one line over while I'm falling off this table. Okay, I'm gonna say one line while I'm eating this banana. And so we just did different shots of me saying different lines, like pretty much in chronological order of me singing, like saying each line for the song while I'm doing something else. Like, it's actually not that. It wasn't as complicated. I wish I could say it was, but it was basically just, say all the lines. And then I did like another bonus shot of me playing the solo on three different guitars, and then a piano and like my tambourine and my snare. And then I was like, that's good enough. And then I did like a full take of me playing the whole song and singing it. And then what you have to do is like, so it's like a super VHS camera. You have to like take the VHS-C tape out, and then you got to put it into an adapter that's like a VHS-C to VHS adapters. And then you got to put that in your VCR, and then you got to run your AV cables from the back of your VCR to like I have like an adapter, like a USB to AV adapter, and then I like run that through and then like import all the footage off there, and then just edited it from there. But it was pretty easy because it was all filmed pretty much in chronological order.
Dude, I'm just sitting here giggling because you're like, well, it's pretty easy because what you got to do is you got to get this thing, then you got to get an adapter, then you got to get a second adapter, and then when you want to get it to your computer, you got to buy a third adapter. It's like
once you got the adapters, it's you're good, you're gold.
Yeah, I guess so. Did you take any sort of like video editing in high school, or what was your, other than just watching Jackass and trying to emulate some of that kind of stuff? What was your inspiration to do any video editing? School?
I think, Jackass was the big thing, and then just just watching music videos, like watching MTV and watching Blink 182 videos, and just then you see them doing stupid stuff and synced up to music, and that was just, I'm sure that's where it all probably came from. And so I took video productions 1 and 2 in high school, and shout outs to West High.
Yeah,
in Iowa City. Let's go. And so that's pretty much all the education that I ever had for video editing. And I mean, I'm sure to everybody else it might look like I have like a style that I edit in, but I feel like it's all out of like necessity. Like I just don't have the best editing software, and I don't have the best filming techniques. But maybe that's good. Maybe that's what gives it its own style or something. I don't I don't know.
No, I'm totally with you because like I didn't our school only offered one class. I come from a really small town, so like our school only offered one class for video production, and the bearing on that was the fact that enough people had to sign up for it or they wouldn't offer it. And so it was only offered my freshman year of high school and then never again afterwards.
Where did you attend?
Humboldt High School in northern Iowa.
Cool.
Yeah, Wildcats. There's not much up here. It's kind of a smaller town. Like I said, it's like 5,000 people. Our grades were like maybe 100 kids tops. And if not enough people would sign up for a class, they just wouldn't offer it. But they always offered everything and then kind of figured it out afterwards. So I never took any like video editing anything. But I remember growing up, and it was kind of like you said, like I was intrigued by professional wrestling vignettes. It's like they put like music in the background and then run like a highlight reel to bring you up to speed on what happened to lead you to the match that you're going to watch. So literally you could ignore all of the wrestling all month long, and then you'd watch the pay-per-view and it's like in 2 minutes I'm caught up and I got to hear some cool music, and it's all the highlights. So as dumb as it sounds, I would create those just for like literally no reason, just to have them on my computer. But I was always intrigued by like video editing and things like that, which is probably one of the reasons I was intrigued by you making so many videos here. But, just seeing the fact that like you've done some of this stuff and other people have kind of made their own like grassroots attempts at making videos and things. I actually tried to make a music video not too long ago for a buddy of mine. And like you said, I'm not a professional videographer. I'm not a professional editor or anything, but it still turned out pretty good, as for what it was. And I feel like that grassroots kind of thing is not so much lost anymore, but there's so much pressure that people want to put on themselves to be like, oh, this has got to be super official, and I've got to spend a lot of money on this to make it look good and be good. Otherwise, no one's going to care. But what they don't understand is that's not the case always.
Yeah, it's like you really have to like work within your means. You can't be aiming for like, like a I can't even think of like what is hip now. I don't know. Okay, like you can't aim for like a Nicki Minaj type quality music video. You know what I mean? You got to realize what you have. I have like a $60 editing software. I have a super VHS camcorder. I'm not going to try to make, I'm going to aim for what I know that I am capable of. And I think that's like the biggest thing is like just like knowing, because if you try to make it like too serious or look too professional, I think that it's gonna probably fail, or it's gonna show that it's like not that professional.
Yes.
And so I think with my video, I was just like, well, I'm not even gonna try to make it look professional. We're just gonna go around our apartment since we're stuck inside like everybody else.
Yep.
And we're just gonna film stupid little clips of me saying each line, because I know that I can edit that together, and I know that it will be probably entertaining enough to hold people's attention for 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I feel like if you strive too hard, you're going to end up like almost outing yourself. A good example of that would be like, if you say you're going to make like a gourmet pizza and you try really hard, and people are going to be like, well, this is not necessarily gourmet pizza. But if you like cook a frozen pizza and you're like, I have a pizza here, everyone's going to eat it. It's pizza and everybody loves it, and that's the thing. But if you try to like label it as something that it might not actually be, people are going to be like, well, kind of, and
Yeah.
I don't know. I really feel like the like we were talking earlier, the grassroots, the ability for people to just go out and do this stuff on their own, it's all there. The music video that I made was for Clint Riedel, his song Hey There Ma. I'm not trying to plug it or anything, but I almost don't even want to say it, but I recorded the whole thing with iPhones. I used a really nice iPhone. I used a junky iPhone. I just have like old iPhones laying around. So I just used them all as my recording equipment. And like you said, the more time you try to put into it to make it look extra professional, eventually something's going to slip through the cracks and people are going to be like, gee, this shot here was kind of junky or whatever, and or just something like that, you're totally going to out yourself. Plus, we don't have like the stage management. We don't have all sorts of people working on the backgrounds, changing the lighting and blowing bubbles and throwing confetti in the air and doing all that crazy stuff like all those professional music videos do.
Throwing confetti in the air.
I don't know. Sure.
Like it. I love it.
I don't know how many music videos you've seen with confetti, but they're all over the place.
I'm gonna throw some confetti in the air in my next video. I'm throwing it.
Sweet.
I'm gonna just start one of my live streams and just be like, "What's up, confetti?" Yeah.
Oh man, it comes back down to that, man. It's the fact that your fun-lovingness definitely comes through in your music abilities and your stage presence and your videos and things like that. And I regret to say that I've never seen the Surf Zombies live in person, but I've definitely heard your guys' tunes. Unfortunately, you guys were really close to my neighborhood. You were playing in out near Fort Dodge in Barnum, and I had a show in Des Moines, so I couldn't make it. And it was like one of the most disheartening things ever because I was like, oh, I wanted to go see these guys. This is the closest they've been in like since I've known about you guys. And
which town is Barnum? Like I'm trying to think where
that was up by Fort Dodge. At the junkyard was the bar.
Yes. Oh my gosh, dude, you are so lucky you didn't. Nothing against the junkyard bar. It was just an off night. It was an off night, and I think it was like really, really cold out. Like this was still like in winter or something.
Yep.
And I think we were like literally playing for like the bartender and like 2 people or something, and each other.
Yeah,
so that's all.
Yeah, one of my buddies was there, and he's like, I don't know if people didn't like why people didn't come out, but like. It was just one of those like freak things. He said it was an odd situation where usually that place is pretty packed, but it was bad weather. It was wintertime. People don't like going places in the winter, and I don't blame them because I don't like going places in the winter either. But I still wished I would have been there, regardless of how you or anybody else would have perceived the situation. I would have enjoyed it immensely because it's one of those things. I don't play surf rock. It's not what I do. It's not that I don't know how, but if I had to, I probably wouldn't be very good at it. So when I see people playing things that I don't normally play or stuff that like wouldn't come out of my brain to play, it's so intriguing and entertaining to me because it's something that I don't know how to do or something that I wouldn't create with my own mental capacity, but somebody else is putting the time, effort, and energy into it, and they're killing it.
I think that's why. I think that's why you might have a podcast. I think it's because you're interested in like other people's stories and like other people's what they bring to the table, and that's. Let's turn this around. Let's make the podcast about you. Because no, I think I was, not just anybody can do like a podcast. I think that's really cool that that interests you, like other people's. What they're good at and stuff. Yeah.
Well, I mean, like I grew up playing punk music, and some of my friends ended up, like one of the guys that was in my punk band joined a metal band in Des Moines, like after we graduated. And it was one of those things where it's like, God, how are you guys playing this many notes? I don't know how to play that many notes, and you guys are playing stuff that's, sometimes faster than punk music and you're just shredding it up. And I don't know how to do any of that stuff. And it was always really intriguing to me. So I set out to, like try and figure out how to play some of that stuff. So I leaned in towards the obvious stuff like the Metallicas and the Megadeths and the Iron Maidens and things like that. So I learned some of that stuff. And it was just the fact that some of it just intrigues me because it's like, if they can do it, I bet I can do it if I work hard enough. I bet I could. And that's the intriguing thing is like, now I'm realizing that I'm a little bit older. I don't have the time to do everything. So why not just let the people that are already doing the thing, why not give them a high five somehow and be like, dude, I love what you're doing, and that's literally all it comes down to. I guess I was lucky enough to I was kind of in the same shoes you were, where they were like, hey, in a month, we've got this metal band that we need a guitarist. Is there any way you can learn all this material? So what they did was they sent me like 13 songs and I learned them all, rehearsrsed, and then played a show with them. And that was like one of the things that really got my chops up as far as a guitarist and kind of like built my confidence even, I'm sure that was no different than you with, standing next to Brooke and everybody in the Surf Zombies, having the availability to have them around and change your style up a little bit and you learn something new and you're like, holy cow, I've got something going on here, you know, and it kind of raises, like I said, raises your self-esteem a little bit.
And it helped that I was playing bass, the instrument that people care and they focus the least on when it comes to surf music or any music, really.
Yeah,
so I could hide behind them.
That's all. That's like we play a song in the punk band I'm in, and I always try to make sure that during one part of the song, I stop playing and I point at the bassist and say, this guy, whether or not you know it, is actually one of the people in the band that's like the most influential and holding us all together, even though he's just standing in the corner, like hiding, you know. It's what you don't realize is without a bass, it's so empty. It's so empty. I mean, that goes for literally every kind of music too.
Yeah, you never think about it, and I didn't think about it for the longest time when I was just recording stuff with like 2 acoustic guitars, and then like now, once like when I make doing backing tracks so I can do live streams, and like sometimes I'll forget to like I'll accidentally mute the bass track, and I'll be like, whoa, this song sounds like total crap. Mm-hmm. The bass is muted.
Yeah,
it is hugely important.
Yeah, and there's some bands that'll like not to delve too deep into theory, but like there's some bands where like if everybody's playing power chords, let's break it down a little bit. They're playing the first and the fifth and maybe an octave of the first. But sometimes the bassist will be like, I'm playing a third here. What do you think of that? And it adds this like extreme depth that you wouldn't have been able to get had you not done something like that. And that's like one of those instances. A good band to point at that would be like AC/DC. Their bassist was always really good at sneaking in a third here or there and really filling out the sound instead of just, like I said, you got one guy, everybody's kind of playing open chords or power chords and stuff, and he's actually just adding this weird amount of depth that people, you don't even know what's going on until you like, I remember the first time I looked up a tab for the bass part for some AC/DC stuff, and I'm like, there's no way this is right. And then you play it along with the guitar part that I like looped on a looper. I'm like, oh wait, no, this is right. My concept of what a bass player is was so different than what it actually is. And that's another thing, like just the fact that you play bass in one band and guitar in another band, and you're obviously very good at both of them, and it's just one of those things like it made me realize that there's so much more to this than just, like we said earlier, just a guitarist can play a bass. Well, they can, but maybe not as well as a bassist. You know, there's different tricks up the sleeves that need to be played depending on what instrument you're going to be using.
Yeah, no, totally. For the first couple of years, it was really just trying to hide behind Brooke and Ian and the rest of them, and just try to convince people that I don't suck. That was my whole goal. Just try to convince them that I don't suck at bass. I'll just turn my amp down. Built up a lot more confidence, and now I'm just like, yes, I want a freaking like a compressor pedal to make every single note the exact same volume. So because like now I'm like ultra confident. And I want to be the lead bassist.
Lead bassist.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Oh, that's like Spinal Tap. They had 2 lead guitarists and a lead bassist.
Oh, I need to watch Spinal Tap again. We were watching I Love the 80s. I don't know if you remember I Love the 80s from like the VH1 show that was like, they'd like talk about every single year from the 80s. Yeah. And we saw the like 1980, I don't know, 86 or I don't know, whenever Spinal Tap came out, and I was like, oh my gosh, this actually might be something that we need to revisit like very soon. And we have like a thing where we don't watch movies unless we find them on VHS. And so like that's like what, like me and my girlfriend, that's what we do basically, is like we have a huge collection of VHSs, and we just go hunting at like Goodwills and Salvation Armies and thrift stores and stuff, and just try to just make our collection as awesome as possible. So I hope we can find Spinal Tap. It shouldn't be that hard.
I found a copy of it maybe like 10 years ago, and I bought it for like $0.25. I don't remember where, so they're out there somewhere, but
I know I've seen it, but it just wasn't on my radar of things to or of VHSs to buy. I wasn't, but then I saw like the I Love the '80s cover, and I was like, this actually might be way better than I remember it being. So yeah, I need to watch that again.
I still remember watching it in high school and just being like, this is awkward. It was just like awkward for like an hour and a half, and that was all it was.
Yeah.
But then,
I wasn't ready for it. I think I like the uncomfortable, what is like the mockumentary kind of thing where it's played off as if it is actually real. Mm-hmm. I wasn't ready for it.
Yeah, I totally wasn't either, and it was one of those things like. I was probably like in the early 2000s when I first watched it, and I'm cruising on the internet as a young kid, and they're like, "Oh, you like music? You gotta watch Spinal Tap. It's a movie for all musicians," or blah blah blah. And I was like, "Okay, whatever. I'll check it out." And like you said, I wasn't ready for it. I was just like, "This is weird. It's awkward. It's like watching a music version of something like." I don't know, The Office or something kind of like that, or like a show.
Yes. Yeah, The Office is probably what got us used to that uncomfortable, like mockumentary kind of style.
Yeah, I
would think.
I recently found that when they filmed Spinal Tap, they filmed like dozens and dozens of hours of filming, and when they like brought all of the material to like the cutting room, they had something like 10 hours worth of film, and they ended up cutting it down to like an hour and a half. And here and there, people have leaked the unedited footage. So you can see some of the scenes in Spinal Tap that are like 4 minutes long. But if you watch like the unedited stuff on like YouTube and things like that, it's actually like a 9-minute scene. And they only took like 30 seconds of it. And so it's literally like 9 minutes of the most awkward stuff you can watch. Just listening to the guys argue. There's like one scene in there where a guy can't nail a solo and they're yelling at him, and it's like, well, if you weren't dinking around the whole time, you'd be able to play the solo. And he's just like, I can play it, and then he tries again and doesn't. But that's like one of those scenes where, like I said, it's like 9-10 minutes long, and you get to watch him walk from the control room back to the studio to try to play it again. And then the guy's laying on the ground, he's like, I'm not playing this, I'm done, I'm not playing anymore today. And it's like, no, you have to play today. And I always think that kind of stuff is super fun. I think it'd be like I think it would be a due service if a band was to create like a new Spinal Tap style movie. I know bands have done it in the past. Recently, like the band Fozzy, Chris Jericho, the professional wrestler dude, he's sings in a band, and they made one in like the early 2000s that actually got the FCC wouldn't let them put it out just due to the fact they didn't have the proper rights to use a lot of the names and things like that, because they had like Zakk Wylde and Alice Cooper and all sorts of people like involved in the documentary that they didn't have the rights from the recording companies to use their likenesses or the band names or even the music, because they would be like, well, this is our song and Twisted Sister quite obviously stole it from us because here's their version. And they would like play covers and pass them off as if they were their own music, and when obviously they weren't, but that was just part of their goofy storyline. So I do think that like the fun lovingness of a band definitely relates to how much people enjoy, being around them, watching them, enjoying their live material and things like that.
Yeah, I think I would agree. I don't attend enough live shows, like, if I can be honest. I think because I miss out on the visual aspect of like seeing the bands having fun and all that. So I just listen to stuff. Like it would like the one thing that I would say is like a positive with all the COVID stuff is like I think people are getting into doing like streaming concerts a lot more, and with those I can totally watch those and get really close to the TV and I get much more immersed in the song and like the fun that the band is having and stuff, and I get way more into it if I can like actually see them. So I would love if like even after this is all over, if all the live or the streaming concerts continues, because for me that would be big. That would be big. I would love to to watch a lot of more bands play live.
Yeah, honestly, the live streaming thing works out almost in some bands' favor, depending on the band. There's like, I don't know, I play most of my shows in Des Moines with a punk band, and I'm, like I said, I'm from northern Iowa, so it's like 2 hours if anyone in my neighborhood wants to see me play. And that's a lot to ask somebody to be like, hey, drive 2 hours to watch me play for an hour and then drive home. You know, it's a lot to ask somebody. So like the availability that they have to like watch us online actually helps out quite a bit. And I'm not trying to like down on any of the like the music industry, but it's not always easy to make money playing your own music. You know, that goes for all styles of music, all kinds of music. I mean, obviously some bands will have an easier time making money. Sometimes they charge upfront fees, but if you play like in a club, a lot of times you're kind of limited to how many people come in the door or like a percentage of the bar or things like that. And if you play like a live streaming show, you can just be like, hey, Venmo me if you want. And and a couple few Venmos could equal just as much as a payday would at a, going out to a show. And you don't have to drag your stuff everywhere. You don't have to go all the way across town or go 2 hours away to a different town to play your music. And like you said, some people have wicked awesome setups. They got big screens in their house with huge tower speakers, and they could really thump this stuff, and it sounds really, really cool, and it looks really, really cool.
Dude, it has been a journey for me to figure out how to get my streaming setup to actually sound good. Because, okay, I don't know if you're hearing the quality of like my voice right now, or like, I mean, you have, obviously, because I'm just like using my phone because I don't have home internet. I just use like my hotspot on my phone. Yeah.
Whoa.
And I just use my hotspot, and then I just use like, I'm plugged in. It's like plugged into my computer, and then I got Skype on there, and then I have an interface so I can use like a good microphone. And so I'm just like, trying to get the best quality I can. But so I was saying that I was recording like a lot of backing tracks.
Yeah.
And so initially I, wanted to be able to just like do the streams using my phone, like do like a Facebook Live or Twitch or YouTube or whatever, and stream from my phone. And the problem is, like, I have an Android, and I'm sure it's probably I know it's the same for iPhone, is getting an interface, like your recording interface, like the line outs to plug in to your phone and have it sound good, like have it sound like not crap. It's like impossible.
It's
and
wicked difficult.
It is impossible. And I got like 3 different TRS to TRRS cables. Like, I don't know if that means anything to you, but just like these cables that try like convert the headphone jack in your Android phone from like from just being able to go into headphones, and it turns it into like a microphone.
Okay.
So it can receive audio, and it just, the problem is that a lot of them are crappy. First off, and then the second thing is that it takes like a stereo mix. Like, I have this like beautiful wide stereo mix, and it just puts it in mono.
Yep.
And so like I'm trying so hard to like have everything fleshed out, like a totally fleshed out mix, and then it just gets all smushed into a mono mix.
Yeah.
And so I was hoping that there would be like one that like converted it and didn't make it stereo, but then my friend Ian from Surf Zombies, like, he told me, he was like, no, there's no cable that's going to make it not mono. It's always going to be mono. And I was like, oh, come on. I wish I would have known that after I spent like $100 on
all the different adapters and cables.
Like, for weeks. For weeks, dude. For weeks.
Oh, man.
And then I basically, so I have a really good computer, but like it's like maybe like 5 or 6 years old, but it was like top of the line at the time. It's a PC. And the thing is, I never cleaned out like the fan or like the inside of it. So like I could never stream from my computer because it would always just overheat, and like the fan didn't work properly. Like the basically the lungs were just completely clogged of my computer, and so like that's why I was trying to use my phone to stream, and failing with the, to get the audio to sound good. And so Ian was like, just give me your computer for a day. I'll clean it out. And hopefully we shouldn't have to like reformat everything. Hopefully it should be just like, I'll just clean it out and it'll be good to go. And like he opened it up and there was just like the thickest layer of dust and cat hair that you've ever seen. It's like 6 years of, living with different cats and different apartments and stuff like that, just all clogged the like lungs up like completely. And so basically, yeah, he took it and was just kind of disgusted, but then gave it back to me. Gave it back to me that same day, and it was like I had like a brand new computer. And so now, finally, I'm able to like hook, just use my current setup, I use Reaper. I don't know what recording program you use, but I just use Reaper, and I can play my backing tracks from my computer and stream with my Super VHS camcorder, and it sounds, the beautiful stereo mix is there, and it's gonna be awesome.
That's crazy.
I'm so
cool.
excited.
Yeah, and that's like some of the things a lot of people don't understand is the amount of like research and development and trial and error that everyone's going through to try to find the best way to create content for everybody and make it passable and enjoyable. Is actually, there's a lot that goes into it. Like, I mean, I've got a MacBook, I guess would be like what I have for a computer, but I use just GarageBand for simple recordings because it's easy enough. But if I want to do stuff complex, I've got a copy of Reaper that I use. But like even just trying to figure out how to do a Skype setup the best way so I can isolate both forms of audio and still record it. And that way,
I wondered why you used Skype over some other like, messenger program, call programs. But that makes sense. That makes total sense. So you can isolate the different audio.
Yeah,
totally.
I mean, that's like a goofy one too, because I got to send like your Skype audio is the only thing I hear. I don't hear my own. So if I'm talking and it's too quiet, I don't know if it's too quiet, but I send all the audio out the headphones, which is just you, into the interface. And then I've got my microphone going into the interface. That goes back in, and then it's this big to-do just to try to figure out how to get all this stuff to line up to work. And I think it's one of the things a lot of people don't understand is some people have, like now, especially since the coronavirus and everybody's staying at home and now a lot of people are streaming, some people have got some insanely cool streaming services going where they have stuff scrolling across the bottom or watermarks, and they're like, guess what? This stream is actually sponsored by a company. It's this company, and they'll put up logos and things, and it's wild. It's cool to see people going through and doing all this stuff because, like you said, it takes extra adapters and cables and new software and testing and testing, and it's not always easy.
It is not. Like I feel like I wasted an entire month just when all I needed to do was just give Ian my computer for a day and have him just clean that cat hair out of there, and I could have been doing streams so long ago. Oh my gosh. I don't know if you caught my first stream that I did. I did like one where I just had my speakers like just facing towards my phone. So like you could hear the mix, coming through my speakers, and I would just stand across the room and sing and play from across the room. And that was like, it was so ghetto. It was so jank, but it got the job done for like a first attempt at streaming. And then I was like, I was just not satisfied. I was not satisfied, and I was like, I'm going to make it work on my phone, and then just a month down the drain. But dude, if I can have everybody hear the mix that I'm hearing in my headphones, the people that are watching the stream, and be able to stream it with my VHS camcorder and have it look all, retro, and have some movie playing, like have Space Jam or something playing on the TV. Yeah. While I'm playing, I think I'd be very happy. I'll do streams for ever like that, because I'll just keep making songs and making backing tracks, because there's like, I have such a huge, like, I'm not trying to gloat or anything, but I have like such a huge backlog of songs like that I've just never been able to like actually like present the way that I, want to like an audience. So it'll just, I will feel like I could be busy for years and years making backing tracks. And, I make the whole thing, like drums, bass, everything. I don't have a drum set, but I just use like some Sennheiser drum software. And it sounds pretty convincing to me. I mean, you heard it on Don't Mean Maybe.
Yep.
It's just like some digital drum machine, and I'm cool with it. I know it's not real drums, but it's it's close enough for me to get the point across.
Yep.
And to really to bring the rock. Yeah. I feel like I could stay busy for years.
I feel like that's something, like, if you told that to a drummer, they'd be like, no way, this sounds like garbage. But like, at the same rate, like, if somebody digitized a guitar amp and then you played through that, you'd be like, well, this is really, really close, but it's still missing a little bit of something. There's always going to be that little dynamic you're missing on something that's digital that you would normally get through something analog, I guess.
Yeah, it's. I mean, when I first started programming the digital drums, I mean, it sounded like a drum machine, because I didn't know about different things. Like, there's like a thing to humanize the drum hits, so it's not perfectly on the grid, not perfectly on the metronome, and so like you can vary the strength of the hits and stuff like that, and give it way more human feel than you would think that you could, like, if you just like turned on a Casio keyboard and just listened to one of those drum beats.
Oh my gosh, yeah. It's just like so basic. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Oh man, and that's really cool. Like, I think I've learned quite a bit about you here, where like you've blended modern things with I don't want to say primitive things, but like with things from the past. Like, you've got modern sounding sound coming through some of your streams, but you're using like VHS to record it. And all that kind of stuff is just really, really intriguing to me. And the fact that you're that open-minded to blend all this stuff together that's
why they call me Trevor Blender.
There you go.
Or do they?
I don't know.
I don't think anybody calls me that, actually, but pretty soon I'm going to force people to call me
Trevor
that.
Blender Treiber.
There you go.
Well, hey man,
I'm into it.
We've got over an hour recorded already, which is cool with me. Is there anything you have that you want to give shout outs to your bandmates? I mean, you gave most of them a shout out already, but anything, I mean, it's tough to be like, oh, I've got these shows planned, because nobody's got any shows planned for the most part, but you got anything?
Yeah, I don't think we have, I mean, basically just shout out to, Brooke, Ian, and Luke of Surf Zombies for being the best bandmates a guy could ask for.
Woo!
And, I guess I just hope everybody's hanging in there and stuff, and I can't wait to like play and rock and see everybody again. Although hopefully, this Sunday I'm looking forward to doing we call it a junk food jam.
Yeah.
Live stream. Yeah. We'll do that live stream on Sunday, aiming for 7 p.m. Or no, 7:30. 7:30. Aha. This was 7 p.m.
Yes.
This podcast was 7. But yes. So 7:30 this Sunday, gonna do the junk food jam, and hopefully I'll see a bunch of people there in text form.
Yeah.
And I miss a lot of people. I miss everybody, and hopefully we will all get through this crap and get rocking very soon.
Yeah, man. Hey, Trevor, thanks a million for taking time out of your day to sit down and talk with me. I really appreciate it.
Dude, it's been so much fun. I really appreciate you having me. It's the first time I've ever done anything like this. Just for, me. I've done stuff with Surf Zombies, doing a podcast, a couple of those, but this, I really am honored to be on the show, and makes me feel all warm and fuzzy inside, dude.
Well, that means mission complete. Mission complete. I'm going to end the recording here in a second, but I would like you to stick around when I'm done. So thanks, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Oh, what a cool guy. You know what? It's been really fun doing these Skype podcasts because I get to talk to people that I wouldn't normally be able to talk to. I've tried to do most of these podcasts face-to-face. I feel like it's a little bit easier to do them face-to-face, but at the same rate, like I said, I've been having a blast talking to all sorts of people on Skype. People I wouldn't normally be able to talk to, and it's been tons of fun. So shout out to Trevor for joining me on this podcast. We had all sorts of cool conversations in this episode, as well as after the episode was over. I mean, we talked a little bit more about all sorts of stuff. He's got all sorts of cool interests and things like that. He's a guy that likes to stay busy. So if you like content, he's probably got a lot of it in all sorts of different genres for you. I've got links down below to all of the music and things that he's in. So check out those links down below. Got to give a shout out to Trevor for joining me on this week's episode. Thanks a lot, Trevor. I really do appreciate it. I got to say thanks once again to everybody listening to the episodes. Huge shout out to you guys. If you're new to the podcast, go back, look at some old episodes, see if you find somebody you know and you want to listen to, or maybe give somebody a spin that you haven't listened to before, or get to know some people. That's kind of what the whole podcast is about, is just kind of saying hi to everybody across the state and giving them a little bit of exposure. And it's just really great. It's really great to sit down and talk with these people and see what makes them tick and see what their interests are and see what, just see how cool everybody is, because it's one of those things. It's kind of fun to just travel around. I didn't realize there was so much awesome music, and the farther I dig into this, the more I realize that there's just a crazy amount of awesome music on the local scene right here in Iowa. So, hey, if you want to check out what we've got going on, we've got tons of stuff. There's also other podcasts across the state doing interviews with other bands. So if you want to check out what they've got going on, you can head to audiblefarm.com. I've got links to their podcasts right there, as well as some links to some local radio shows that also talk to musicians and play their tunes. So maybe you're a musician and you're like, I want to get my music on the radio somewhere. Well, maybe head to www.audiblefarm.com and hit up some of those links for radio stations and shows and things like that. There's all sorts of stuff on the website there, as well as links to everything Audible Farm, as well as a place to listen to the podcast. We got t-shirts available for sale. There's a link to that on our website, as well as a contact page, so you can contact us and say hi or do whatever. So the website's really cool. Check it out. It's a nice little simple website, but it gets the job done, directs you to everything Audible Farm. So I want to say thanks a lot. I've got new stuff going on all over, on the YouTube channel. There's going to be new things coming to the YouTube channel soon. I'm in the process of making making a new show, but it's going to be a little short, once a week type thing, and I'm trying to get a few episodes backlogged before I get involved with it, because believe it or not, even though it's summertime, I'm still pretty busy. I'm going to school and still doing all that stuff. So hey, I'll have a new show hopefully sometime in the next month or two up on the YouTube channel. So go to the Audible Farm YouTube channel. That's www.youtube.com/audiblefarm, and hit subscribe so you don't miss out, because it's going to be tons of fun. So hey, thanks everybody for listening. Huge shout out to Trevor Treiber for taking some time out of his day to join me. Make sure you go down, scroll into the description section, and check out some of the links I've got for him down below. And I also got to say thanks to Couchtown Coffee for sponsoring us week in and week out. Much appreciated, Couchtown. You guys fuel my day-to-day obsession with music, so I really, really appreciate it. And I gotta say thanks to everybody listening. So go to www.audiblefarm.com, check it out, and make sure you click on all of the links down below to see what Trevor's got going on, not only in the Surf Zombies, but beyond. So check it out. Thanks, everybody. Peace.